Hey, this is Jeff, and today I'm going to show you the secret benefits of perks in Fallout 3 and New Vegas. By secret benefits, I mean any effect that doesn't appear in the perk description in-game, which also means I'm only including perks you can choose when leveling up, not perks that are granted automatically as quest rewards or that kind of thing. This is all based on the perk list in the GECK and the use report for each one. I know some of these are mentioned on the Fallout wiki, but getting it straight from the horse's mouth seemed like a more thorough approach. So why did I go down that rabbit hole? Well, over the last few series I've done, I noticed several perk-related dialogue options with NPCs that I'd either never seen before or long forgotten. I'm not talking about speech-related perks where I just ran into an option I didn't remember. Like Black Widow says, in combat you do plus 10% damage against male opponents. Outside of combat, you'll sometimes have access to unique dialogue options when dealing with the opposite sex. There are 8 instances in Fallout 3 and almost 20 in New Vegas, so of course there were some I didn't remember, but that's not a secret benefit. What piqued my interest was unique dialogue for a couple Fallout 3 perks that I never take because the description only says they give you bonus skill points. Normally I wouldn't waste a perk slot on those, but they were crucial to the skill stash challenge, and I noticed another one in the no-kill run. The description of Gun Nut only says it gives you 5 bonus points in small guns and repair. However, if you have it when you first talk to Riley, you get a unique dialogue option.
Do you have any idea what it would do to my reputation if word got around that Riley of Riley's Rangers was laid up in a hospital bed?
This is the one I noticed in the Skills Dash series, and I didn't remember ever seeing it before. I've heard of you guys. You pack some serious firepower.
You're pretty sharp, kid. We pack plenty of firepower, but that didn't help us from getting our asses into serious trouble. I didn't expect to make it out of there alive.
The other one was Scoundrel, which the description only says it gives you 5 bonus points in speech and barter. But like Gun Nut, there's actually more. It lets you squeeze Lucy West for some money when doing blood ties. If you want me to find Ian, I'll need to equip myself. That costs money.
Fine. Here, this is all I have left to feed myself, you selfish asshole. I don't care anymore. I just want to know where my brother is.
And then when you're trying to find Ian, you can use it to sweet talk Holly into letting you see him. Come on, all I want to do is talk. What harm could little old me do?
Well, I guess so. You seem like a pretty nice girl. Vance will have my butt in a sling if he finds out, but let me give you the password to his room.
So naturally I wondered if there were more, and that's when I started digging. Well, it turned out none of the other skill points only perks like Thief or Little Leaguer had secret benefits. There were plenty of others that did. Enough to make a video about, in fact. I wanted to minimize the amount of switching back and forth between games while I was recording game footage, so let's look at the other perks that only exist in Fallout 3 first. Contract Killer and Lawbringer let you collect a bounty for killing good characters or evil characters, respectively, and they don't unlock any unique dialogue outside of the people you can talk to in their headquarters, but they do have a potentially important undocumented side effect. Contract Killer will prevent Talon Mercs from spawning when you have good karma, and Lawbringer prevents Regulators from spawning when you have evil karma. Neither perk exists in New Vegas because those organizations don't operate there, and there's not even any equivalent because New Vegas emphasizes faction reputation over karma. So here we are at Anacostia Station, one of the guaranteed spawn points for karma mercs of either variety, and my karma is currently very good, so there would normally be Talon mercs right here, except there's nobody here because we have the Contract Killer perk. Speaking of karma, Impartial Mediation only says it gives you a plus 30 speech buff as long as your karma is neutral, but the secret benefit is that it unlocks a unique dialogue option, again when you're searching for Ian during blood ties, to get the password from Justin. I'm not here to take sides, just to make sure Vance hasn't omitted any facts.
I'd never thought of it that way. I suppose he should get a chance to talk to someone like you. Here's the password to his isolation area. Just please don't mention my name to Vance about this.
And finally, the Master Trader perk just says it reduces prices from vendors by 25%, but in the unmarked quest with Uncle Ro to improve the caravans, you can get the same benefits for half the investment. The fact that Master Trader doesn't exist in New Vegas seems like a missed opportunity, considering how much more robust the economy in the Mojave is compared to the Capital Wasteland, and how much more important caravans and trade are, but it is what it is.
If Harith were a less reputable man, I'm sure he could use his armory to collect even more weapons. But he's a merchant, not a raider, so it's legitimate means only, like a legitimate investment of 500 caps.
With my guidance, it can be done with only 250 caps.
I suspect you're right. Done.
There are also a few perks that exist in both games, but only have secret benefits in one or the other. Let's look at the ones in Fallout 3 while we're here. Entomologist only says it gives you a 50% damage bonus against insects, but it also unlocks 2 unique dialogue options when you're investigating the ants in Grey Ditch. Did you hear anyone mention anything about an ant queen?
Well, yeah. I think I heard Doc Wesco mention something like a queen or something. Something about laying eggs. Whatever that means. He said the queen would never be above ground. That he'd have to find her. Weird, huh?
Ants exhibit class system behavior, so I'll try to kill the queen fast.
Must I again remind you that the queen is to remain completely unharmed? If she's hurt or killed, there's no telling how long it would take me to find a suitable new subject. Just let me issue the inhibitor pulse and it will have a similar effect.
Toughness only says it increases your DR by 10, but it also unlocks a unique option with Ted Strayer when you're collecting keys for Mr. Crowley. Just give me the key. Don't ask why.
Okay, dude. Don't have a cow. Here, take it.
Life Giver only says it increases your max health by 30, but it also unlocks a unique option with Treefather Birch when you get the mission in Oasis. There are actually 2 perks that unlock similar unique dialogue with Birch in this exact conversation, by the way, and we'll get to see the other one in a bit. Life Giver. I can't explain it, but I can feel this place just teeming with life.
That's his power you feel, outsider. With his outstretched limbs, he shelters us and keeps us safe.
Robotics Expert says it gives you 25% bonus damage against robots and lets you deactivate robots if you sneak up on them undetected, which is great already, but it also unlocks multiple unique speech options with different characters. You can convince Button Gwyneth and Milo to stand down. Enough of this. Command Protocol Delta 76. Reset.
Stand by. Rebooting program. Command structure reset. Complete. Self-diagnostic. Complete. Program reset. Awaiting user input.
Command Protocol Delta 53. Disengage security program.
Command accepted. Security program disengaged. Yes, fellow employee? What can I do for you on this wonderful day?
It lets you skip the Robco factory when doing the Wasteland Survival Guide for Moira, which counts as completing the optional reprogramming objective, and if you're trying to get a specific version of the Survival Guru perk, it's the same as picking the High Intelligence response if you completed it normally and turned it in. I could just write that section for you. Trust me, I'm an expert.
Practically speak robot, do you? As long as you don't write it in all ones and zeros, then I guess it'll be fine. Thanks. In fact, here, just in case your expertise fails you, a few pulse grenades and my old science textbook. Enjoy!
It lets you remove the combat inhibitor from Cerberus, the security bot in Underworld, with predictably horrifying results.
Whoa, Nelly! Sensing combat inhibitor removal. Guns are hot, firing for effect. Welcome to hell, you zombie freaks! Ready to die for your country, you commie son of a bitch! Here's what you get for fucking over here. Ready to die for your country?
This is hopeless.
Running will only make the pain last longer.
And it lets you make the Protectron at Roosevelt Academy friendly, although that's of limited use because the place is crawling with super mutants, so it's more useful as a distraction than an ally. First, turn it on with this terminal. Activate Protectron unit. And if you approach it, it'll challenge you.
Morning. It's a great day at Roosevelt High School. No students in hall without pass. Visitors must sign in at administration.
Maintenance code RHX1W38. There are lots of security bots in the game that you can activate and make friendly, like the ones in the Metro that turn hostile if they don't detect a Metro ticket in your inventory, but this one you need to talk down. There's also a Child at Heart option, but I didn't take that perk because it doesn't have any secret benefits. All it does is unlock unique dialogue options, which is exactly what its description says it does. And this conversation also has a low intelligence option, which isn't showing up either because my intelligence is too high. Special dialogue for low intelligence characters were fairly common in New Vegas, but extremely rare in Fallout 3. Somebody on the development team really loved this particular robot for some reason. Anyway, Override Authorization Challenge Protocol.
Override granted. User access allowed.
And now we're free to roam around the Academy. Speaking of New Vegas, there's one perk that exists in both games but doesn't have a secret benefit in Fallout 3, only in New Vegas. Although this one's kind of marginal. Fast Metabolism only says stim packs restore 20% more hit points, but in New Vegas, it also boosts healing from super stim packs and doctor's bags. Since neither of those items existed in Fallout 3, this just feels like they forgot to update the perk description, but it technically fits my definition of a secret benefit, so it was worth mentioning here. And finally, there are a couple of perks that exist in both games, and have secret benefits in both as well. Cannibal only says it lets you regain health by eating corpses, at the cost of losing karma, but it also unlocks unique dialogue in both games. In Fallout 3, you can persuade Robert to let you into Beresti.
Whoa, slow down there. This area's off limits to everyone but the family. Where the hell do you think you're going?
I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I belong here.
Vance said others of our kind would find us. Sorry I was so harsh, but I don't share our leader's ability to feel others of our kind. If I were you, I'd speak to Vance before you poke around too much. You can usually find him on the mezzanine overlooking the common area.
And convince Vance to cooperate with you once you're in. Look, I'm one of you, so I understand your feelings. I just want to talk to Ian.
Indeed. Perhaps my sense of caring for Ian has overwhelmed my sense of duty to the family and all others like us. Forgive my mistake. If you wish to speak to Ian, you're free to do so. Here is the code to the area in which he is meditating.
And you can resolve the confrontation with the residents of Andale peacefully after you discover their secret. There are actually 3 or 4 places in Jack's dialogue where you can play the Cannibal card, but I picked the first one I saw. I would have grabbed myself a snack while I was there, but that would have been rude.
You're right, it sure would have. You know, you're a breath of fresh air. Every time someone discovers our little secret, we have to hear about it. It's always, oh, how can you do this? Or, you're such terrible people. Or, please not me, I have a kid in Rivet City. Well, I have kids too. Family first, that's the way it works in Andale from the day that the first 4 families decided to stay here. You're not bad, stranger. Stop on by anytime and ask Linda for one of her special meat pies.
In New Vegas, you can creep Jazz Wilkins out the first time you meet her, apparently just for giggles.
Let me ask you a question. What's the tastiest thing you've ever eaten?
People have a rather unique taste, I've discovered.
Oh, Well, no accounting for taste, I guess. Anyway, I've got this recipe for a Deathclaw omelet that I've been itching to try out. Trouble is, I need a Deathclaw egg. Kind of obvious, I suppose.
You get a unique option with Marjorie during Beyond the Beef, but she doesn't take it very well.
How do you do? Though we haven't always been the White Glove Society, there was another time, a dark time, when we went by a different name. But that's all changed now. We've evolved past such base impulses since settling into our new home. I've seen to it that those days are behind us.
It's okay. I eat people too. You can tell me the truth.
You disgust me. How dare you say such a filthy thing in my establishment? I ought to have you arrested. You'll kindly mind your tongue, or we shan't speak any further.
But Mortimer's a different story. I've heard your group dines on human flesh.
Ah, yes. I've heard that one too. Jealous people say such nasty things. I feel sorry for them.
I too know what it is to feel the craving. How can I support your cause?
Good. And you know what it is to be discreet in matters of nutrition. Perhaps you can help me. I'm in a bind. I've been planning an exquisite society dinner, but there's a bit of a problem with the main course. He's got a powerful and temperamental father.
Similar deal with the Animal Friend perk. It only says it affects how animals react to you, but in Fallout 3, it unlocks a unique option with Treefather Birch when you get the mission in Oasis, similar to the option we saw earlier for Life Giver. Amazing. This place seems so abundant with animal life.
The innocent creatures are drawn here by his gifts. They come from across the wasteland to live in this sanctuary. This part of the world is healing, my friend, and it's all thanks to him.
In New Vegas, you can get Melody's teddy bear from Antony without fighting in the arena.
Tell you what, you square off with 4 of my best dogs. No armor and no weapons except a machete. You survive, and I let you have the bear.
The mongrels won't touch me. Animals like me.
I thought something was wrong. We usually have to pull them off any visitors to the fort. Well, that's no fun. Take the bear. I'll find them something else to chew on.
During You'll Know It When It Happens, you can ask the ranger outside the dam offices to let you use his dog to inspect the security for the president's speech. Would you mind if I borrowed him to check out the area?
I don't know about that.
It's okay. I'm good with animals.
Okay. Take good care of them and bring them back when you're done.
And he will give you hints if you're having trouble. And there's a really obscure one here. If you also have the Wild Wasteland perk, Animal Friend gives you an amusing interaction with Rex. What's that, Rex? Little Jimmy fell down the well? Let's go check out that well, boy. And there is a well, but I'm not going to go there because you don't need Animal Friend to unlock it. If you only have Wild Wasteland, you just have to go through a little guessing game with Rex to figure it out. But there's more. Animal Friend is also one of the few perks with a secret benefit outside of dialogue, similar to how Contract Killer and Lawbringer prevent karma mercs from spawning. You can make a case that this one is less of a secret benefit and more of a development oversight. The description says, at the first rank of this perk, animals simply won't attack. At the second rank, they will actually come to your aid in combat, but never against another animal. Which it does in both games with a hidden faction, Animal Friend. All creatures affected by the perk are members of that faction, which starts the game neutral to the player faction. When you take rank 1, it makes the Animal Friend faction friends with the player faction, and at rank 2, it bumps it up to ally. However, faction membership is only one of many factors that determine whether or not a creature is hostile to the player or anything else. The important ones here are aggression and assistance. Aggression is pretty straightforward. Unaggressive creatures never initiate combat. Aggressive creatures attack anything in an enemy faction on sight, while very aggressive creatures attack enemies and neutrals. The assistance attribute determines whether a creature will aggro if someone else enters combat. It can be set to help nobody, help allies only, or help allies and friends. Also fairly self-explanatory, but creatures will never attack a friend or ally regardless of how their aggression or assistance is set. And in theory, all that makes it sound like both ranks should work as described. But, while I frequently take rank 1, I never take rank 2, because the back of my mind always tells me that I tried it once long ago and it was useless. And a bit more digging in the GECK showed me why. I compared a lot of faction relationships and made charts to summarize. The orange cells are enemies that a given creature in the Animal Friend faction will never attack, even with rank 2 of the perk, which roughly checks out with the description, although there are a few combinations where one animal will attack another animal, because the Animal Friend faction is neutral to itself. Like mole rats won't attack other mole rats or Yao Guai, because the mole rat faction is ally to itself and friend to the Yao Guai faction. But they will attack dogs or Brahmin because the relationship with their factions is neutral and mole rats are very aggressive. And it turns out virtually everything else that's hostile to the player is also either enemy or neutral to the animals in the Animal Friend faction. Most of them are either very aggressive or just aggressive, but they assist allies and friends, which means a given animal will assist you with everything in the red cells, even if you only have rank 1 of the perk. Technically, even if you don't have the perk at all for the very aggressive animals, although in that case they might attack you instead of the mutual threat. So theoretically, rank 1 gives you pretty much the full benefit that the description says you get at rank 2. Now, to be thorough and fair, the green cells are combinations where rank 2 does do something more than rank 1. Unfortunately, it's just Brahmin and Bighorners, and Bighorners didn't exist in Fallout 3. Plus, domesticated animals in New Vegas are usually allies with the faction for their settlement, so they won't back you up if you go on a murder spree in that town. So those cells are really only green for Brahmin and Bighorners in the wasteland. They'd be orange for the ones in the settlements. Now, these charts don't include every potential enemy in either game. The number of possible combinations was prohibitive, especially when you consider creature variants with different AI attributes or faction membership. But this covered enough of the major ones to explain why I'd never take rank 2. At least on paper. I still had to test it, and that was a bit more of a hit or miss proposition than with the perks that just unlock unique dialogue options. I had to find an enemy within reasonable walking distance of a friendly animal, but not so close that they'd see each other, aggro it, and then kite it over to see if the animal reacted differently at each rank of the perk. Testing rank 1 confirmed what I already knew because I've seen it hundreds of times in both games. All over the wasteland, animals would tear into whatever was attacking me, not because they were technically assisting, but because they were hostile to the enemy and not hostile to me. Which confirmed that rank 1 has the secret benefit of giving you pretty much the full effect the perk description says you only get at rank 2. Testing rank 2 was another story. In Fallout 3, Brahmin are the only animals that theoretically have different behavior at rank 2, so my options were limited. I finally found a spot where I could reliably get an enemy to spawn and lead it into a herd of Brahmin. At rank 1, they just ignored the enemy, which makes sense because the enemies were already in combat with me, and the Brahmin are unaggressive, so they never initiate combat. At rank 2, they did react differently, as expected from the theoretical analysis. Although it'd be a bit generous to say they came to my aid, they aggroed and then immediately fled. I guess they would have served as a distraction if I wanted to run away, but yeah, rank 2 was basically useless in Fallout 3. In New Vegas, there are more locations where one specific type of creature will predictably spawn, but a lot of them are in additional factions that might interfere with the expected result. So for example, like I said earlier, I couldn't just go on a murder spree in Goodsprings to see if the Bighorners there would back me up, because the Bighorners are allied with the Goodsprings faction, so they'll never attack any of the residents in that faction. So I ended up walking through the wasteland trying to trigger random encounters while doing the necessary quest stuff to unlock the unique dialogue responses that we saw earlier. And that's where things got interesting. This Bighorner wouldn't attack a mantis nymph at either rank of the perk. They're both aggressive, not very aggressive, and their factions are neutral to each other, so I wouldn't expect them to attack each other at rank 1. But the Bighorner should attack the mantis if the mantis attacks one of the Bighorner's allies, and at rank 2, we were. So I checked this exact Bighorner and this exact mantis in the GECK and discovered that the Bighorner's assistance was set to helps nobody, which it shouldn't be. It comes from a leveled list for random encounters, and while you can override those settings for specific creature variants, this one is explicitly set to inherit its AI data from a base creature, and that base creature is set to help allies, which suggests that the game has an inheritance bug, so all bets were off. The odds of finding a random animal with the correct faction, aggression, and assistance settings were just too low to be worth the effort. So I can't say with 100% certainty that rank 2 is completely useless in New Vegas, but it's certainly even more useless than it is in Fallout 3. Which would have been the end of this video, but the unique dialogue with the ranger at the dam only unlocks during the second to last mission of the main quest line, assuming you aren't working with the Legion. Since I was that close to the end, I decided to treat myself and finish the game. And then this happened. Which proved nothing about the perk because A, it's extremely rare to see a creature spawn near the Legate's camp, and B, Yao Guai are very aggressive and neutral toward the Legion, so it would have attacked them even if I didn't have the perk at all. But it was still pretty cool because the symbol of the NCR is a bear, so it seemed kind of fitting that one would show up to help me defeat the Legion in the end. Particularly when it started killing Brahmin, because the symbol of the Legion is a bull. And that got me wondering if there'd be any useful help nearby if I sided with the Legion instead. I think I've only done one Legion playthrough like 10 years ago, and I didn't remember exactly what you do or where you go between killing Kimball and confronting Oliver. So I loaded a save before I'd locked in a faction ending and went to find out. I can think of two potential explanations for this. First, it's theoretically possible that Animal Friend Rank 2 might have a secret benefit that wasn't readily apparent in the GECK, like a script that influences the location or probability of creature spawns or something, so it could act almost like a summon creature spell in Skyrim. And I would have never noticed it because I never take Rank 2. But what I think is far more likely is just Bethesda games gonna Bethesda. It's not at all uncommon for NPCs and creatures to glitch through walls and floors, or their AI pathfinding gets screwed up. Sometimes the game teleports them to the wrong location when you go through a loading screen, so you're like, what are you doing here? Or even completely off the world map. If you play these games, I'm sure you've seen it happen plenty of times. Plus, weird stuff like this just seems to happen even more frequently on April 1st. And before you start leaving hate mail in the comments about how I wasted half an hour of your life, everything I said and showed right up to the New Vegas endgame quests was absolutely legit. This was originally going to be a straight analysis video, but I didn't have any better ideas for April Fools this year, so I modded in the bear at the Legates camp and the stampede on the dam at the end. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.